And a good afternoon, everybody. This is Blip Shift Broadcasting. We are jumping into a Formula Renault 3.5 race at the Nurburgring this evening. And we are looking at the qualifying laps right now. The guys are running on their own during qualifying. It's 8 minutes long. They have to run 2 laps, and the best lap time will decide where they are on the grid. We're looking at Jamie Byrne, the number 12 car at this time. Let's see who else we got here. This is Tim Delisle, I guess you would pronounce that. His car number 1. Paul Ilbrink, car number 2. Greg Olson. Edward Samborski. Amal Yunus. Ronaldo Augusto. And then we have Dan Jiang. Jason Henrique. Joshua Stewart. Gennady Kolosnikov. Nicholas Bradford. Jamie Byrne. James Mallow. Looks like he's either getting ready to go or not yet ready to go. James Byrne. I guess we got 2 James Byrnes here. Number 2 behind his name, and the other one is James Byrne without a number behind his name. Then we have Luke Greenfield. And we have Rafael Murcia and Joshua Ingram. Those are the drivers, 18 drivers that are competing in this race. We have a little over 5 minutes of qualifying left to go, and as said, they are doing their best on 2 laps, and that will decide their grid position. Drivers are still on their first timed lap. Nobody posted a time just yet. This is Tim Delisle, the number 1 car. Obviously, the numbers are determined by iRating, so I would guess Tim Delisle is a driver with a very high iRating, and he should be favorite for the race. It's Paul Ilbrink that posts the first time at 129.3. Then it's Joshua Stewart, Ronaldo Augusto, and James Byrne 2. I guess we're going to have to call him James and the other one Byrne. Greg Olson now takes away the provisional pole with a 128.6. Those are good lap times for the Nürburgring. We're driving the Grand Prix circuit, but we're bypassing the stadium part of the track. So the first turn after the main straightaway is a right turn and then a direct left. We're not making that little loop by the stadium in there. Samborski worked his way up to 3rd position. Stewart is 4th now. And Luke Greenfield posted the 10th time, the 138.7. Amal Yunus has posted a 132.4. And Tim Delisle has posted the 2nd time now, 128.7. It's Greg Olson on the provisional pole with a 128.6. Not an easy track, the Nürburgring. It's got some tricky chicanes. It's got some bumps where you don't really want them, especially in the slower turns. The bumps can really upset the car. So it's all about setup in this race, and it's all about throttle control as well. The Formula Renault 3.5 is a very powerful car. It's got a V8 3.5 liter engine. So when you hit the gas on those slower turns, it's very, very easy to spin the tires and send the car in circles where you don't want to have them in circles. Looks like Greg Olson's still out there. And it looks like Tim Delisle and Greg Olson are running similar cars there. Maybe they're part of a team somewhere. And Joshua Stewart's come to a halt on the track there. Samborski still running. He is currently in the 5th position. It looks like he's on his in lap. He's not really going full speed anymore. 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in qualifying. And we have several drivers not going out with a qualifying attempt. Dan Jiang, James Mallow, Brian Kraus, Rafael Murcia, and Joshua Ingram have not been out yet. And that could be a choice. You know, some drivers like to start in the back and see how things develop, play it safe, not race for position too much, but race more for safety rating than I rating, which is a choice. You know, you obviously that's how the system works. You can play the system to your advantage. Samborski going on the long straight towards that narrow chicane here. And actually, he's not going that far. He thinks he's done. So we have about a minute left, a minute and a half left, waiting for qualifying to end, and we'll do a little shopping right here, waiting for the flag. And there you have it, a little message from our friends at eFormula Series who are starting a new league for this car, actually. They're having a recruitment race this Saturday, tomorrow at 12 Central Standard Time. And it'll be on this track. You can join in still. It's open for everybody, and it'll be in the hosted series and the hosted races. All right, we're getting ready to grid up here. Cars are getting ready to get started. And you're looking at Reinaldo Augusto in sixth position, waiting for the fast guys to join the grid here. And we will be racing for 25 laps. There should not be a pit stop necessary in this race. The tank is big enough. Number 4 car, Samborski. And your pole sitter, Greg Olson, ready to go, and his teammate Tim Delisle is right next to him. Those guys look like they're in a league somewhere as teammates, and nice looking livery for sure. And they're both on the first row, so they're probably favorite for this race. So we'll see how this all pans out. See how these guys do. Again, it's not an easy car. It's probably one of the hardest cars that iRacing has to offer at this point. And it looks like we're still waiting for Joshua Stewart and Luke Greenfield. Everybody else is on the grid. There's Luke Greenfield has joined us now. We're still looking for Joshua Stewart.
Green flag.
There we go. We're racing. It's Greg Olson taking the lead in front of his teammate Tim Delisle, and it's Paul Embrink. The whole bunch is coming to that first tight corner. Watch out here, guys. It's very, very tight. And then we take an immediate left. We don't go through the stadium, And both the teammates are already pulling away from the rest of the guys. Let's take a look at the third place driver, Paul Ilbrink here. And it looks like he's already catching up to Tim Delisle, going towards the hairpin there at the end of the track. High-pitched sound of that beautiful Renault 3.5 liter V8 engine. It sounds like the old day Formula One cars from the 90s and the early 2010s. And it looks like the teammates are pulling away there just a little bit. Tim Delisle following his teammate Greg Olson, for the lead down the back stretch. There's a little kink in there that they can go full throttle. This would be a place to use their drag reduction system. They have 10 attempts for drag reduction system, which kind of closes a flap on the rear wing and gives them a little bit extra top speed. Obviously, you do not want to use that anywhere near a turn, because then you'll be done pretty much instantly. So Paul Ilbrink chasing the teammates. It's Reinaldo Augusta in 4th place, Samborski 5th, Jason Henrik 6th, Kalashnikov is 7th, Byrne is 8th. He made a good start. And then Brian Krause 9th, and Nicholas Bradford is in 10th position. And Paul Ilbrink is trying to stay in touch there with the leading duo. It's not easy for him. It looks like those two teammates are pulling away there a little bit. And we're looking here at Samborski trying to stick it with Augusta. He's doing pretty good there. It's not really close, but it's right now probably the closest thing we have. And Tim Delisle only is less than a second behind Greg Olson. Again, teammates probably. They're running away from the pack here. Samborski's keeping up with Augusta pretty good. Down that long stretch, and again, this is where your DRS would come in handy, and then try to outbrake for the chicane that we're coming up. This is a bumpy part of the track, and you don't want to hit those curbs too hard. It'll upset the balance of your car quickly. And then this turn looks fairly wide, but it's still pretty bumpy, and it's still easy to upset. You can see that Samborski almost lost the back end there. It's still pretty bumpy, and it's pretty hard to time it right to get on the gas without stepping out the back end. It looks like Ilbrink is closing in a little bit on the number 2 car of Tim Delisle. And then on that straight here, that Tim Delisle just pulls away. It looks like he's really good on getting out of those turns. Let's go take a look back here at Samborski. And Jason Henrik is closing in on Samborski at this point. And that is Jason Henrik in the black and white Fanatic livery. Nicholas Bradford's trying to close in on Brian Krause. That's for 9th and 10th position. And Ilbrink is less than a second behind the number 2 car, Tim Delisle. Well, it's the number 1 car, but it's a second position car. And we still have Greg Olson in the lead. He's about 2 seconds ahead of Tim Delisle now. He's opening up that gap. Augusta is closing in there now. Maybe he's trying to use that push to pass. It's not really a push to pass. It's a drag reduction system, and it's very hard to tell from the outside. Oh, and Augusta is spinning it around. That's the bumps for you in that chicane. Get on the gas a little too early, and the bumps will get you out. Too bad for Ronaldo Augusta. He drops back to 7th position there. And once that car's been spinning, you also got to be very careful, because those tires will heat up when you're spinning around, and they go to they're mush right after you spin. So right now it's Paul Ilbrink in 3rd still, and the gap is getting a little bigger ahead of him. It's Jason Henrik less than a second behind Samborski right now. And full on the gas towards the hairpin. This might also be a short straight where you could use that DRS and try to outbrake somebody in the hairpin. And then the part where we're going next is pretty much full speed. And then here we go down to third or fourth gear for a left and right hander, and then the longer straight towards the chicane. Brian Krause is gaining a little bit on Nicholas Bradford, and they're in 9th and 10th position. Nice classic Benetton livery on that car. And Nicholas Bradford's right ahead of him in the blue car there. It's not easy for these guys to stay close to each other, because when you can pull your way towards somebody in the draft, but then you lose your downforce in the turns, and the faster turns are not that bad for that, but in the slower turns, you know, your arrow's really not working all that well anyway, and then you have a very high-powered car that you need to control. You can see him wiggle a little bit under braking there in the first chicane. This is also a very tricky turn to get out of if you're going very slow, and if you're in first gear, it's amazingly easy to spin the tires and swing that thing around. Let's go back up front real quick here. This is Greg Olson, the leader. His teammate in the background there, Tim Delisle, in second place. And 2 seconds behind Tim Delisle is Paul Ilbrink in third position. Not really being under any attack or anything. It's Samborski in fourth. And then it's Jason Henrik in fifth. Kalashnikov in sixth. Augusto is in seventh position. Jamie Byrne in eighth position. And ninth is Nicholas Bradford. And it looks like Brian Krause has lost a little bit of ground on Bradford there. And the final running driver is one lap down. That's James Mallow. I think James started from the pits, if I remember correctly. He's already been in the pit on lap 1, so yeah, he started from the pit. Greenfield looks like he was in the pit at the beginning. Let's find out where Luke is here in the white car. He's running in 13th position, and he's about 15 seconds behind the guy in front, which is Rafael Murcia. And it's Augusta that's gaining on Kalashnikov. After his spin, he's trying to fight his way back to the front. He ran in fourth position there and spun it around earlier, as you may remember, in the chicane. And he's getting really close now to Kalashnikov. And Kalashnikov is spinning it under braking. I'm not sure if they touched. We'll have to take a good look at that. See if they touched each other there. It doesn't really look like it. It doesn't really look like it. He just locked it up under braking, under the pressure of Augusta, and lost the position. He dropped down to 9th now, having to worry about Brian Krause in the Benetton livery car. And Augusta is up to 6th, going through that chicane where he spun earlier, and he's doing it right now. And he's got some 5 seconds to make up to get the next victim, which would be Jason Henrik in 5th position. Tim Delisle is 1.6 seconds behind his leading teammate Greg Olson. He can see him going away in the distance there. Paul Ilbrink is now 3.1 seconds behind. Samborski in 4th. And Jason Henrik is in 5th position. Let's go see about Brian Krause here. He's closing in on Kalashnikov as well. Kalashnikov may be in a little bit of trouble there. And then behind that in the distance, you could see a little glimpse of James Byrne 2. The second James Byrne we have here. And Brian Krause looks like he's gaining a little bit. He's 0.6 of a second right now. They're on the fast part towards the hairpin. This is where it went wrong for Kalashnikov last lap. Using the curb on the exits there. This is a very fast left-right. Basically, you should be able to do this full throttle if you got the right setup. And then back to third or fourth gear for the left and right here. And then back on the throttle for the straightaway towards that chicane. And it looks like Kraus is now losing a little bit of ground on Kalashnikov. Kalashnikov found his rhythm again, I suppose. In the chicane here, careful. And then it's another hairpin that brings you back to the main straightaway under the BMW bridge and past the hotel on the left. 7 laps in of 25. Actually, we're on lap 8 right now. Greg Olson still leading the race. His teammate Tim Delisle is right behind him there. 1.6 seconds between the two. Paul Ilbrink is in third. And Samborski is in fourth. And there's a lot of distance between these guys. Jason Henrique is in fifth. And Augusta is in sixth. Jamie Byrne in seventh. Bradford in eighth. Kalashnikov is in ninth. And let me see. That looks like no. James Byrne too has actually passed Brian Kraus, though it looks like Kraus has actually had some sort of incident there. It doesn't show any incidents, but he was right behind Kalashnikov earlier, and James Byrne has now taken the 10th position from him. And it looks like Luke Greenfield in 15th position. He's the last car on the lead lap. He's still hanging in there, running a lap time of 1:48.1, so I'm sure something must have happened on that lap. And it's now 2 seconds separating the leader and this man, Tim Delisle, the second place car. He can get a glimpse of the leader on those short straightaways, I'm sure. About 2 seconds now, and then 3.5 seconds actually further back. It's Paul Ilbrink in third position. And basically pretty safe there because it's almost 4 seconds waiting until we get to Mr. Samborski in the fourth position. There's quite some gaps between all these drivers right now. Things are stretching out a little bit, not quite halfway. Lap 9 out of 25. So we're going to break away here really quickly and bring you a little commercial to pay for everything we do. Oh, hi. What's your name? Hi, Marcia. I almost erased you. I was going to draw a car. You do? But you're a... Well, I don't know. A racing driver? Well, we can make that happen. looks like the front wing has been damaged on that car. And let's go take a look at James Byrne, number 2. He's still running in 10th position. And he's following Kalashnikov in the red and white car. Most of these guys are separated by more than 2.5 or 3 seconds. And the only one that's keeping up with the leader there is Tim Delisle. Paul Ilbrink has been passed by Samborski. Something may have happened. Yes, indeed. Oh, he got the curb a little too hard there, hard on the gas. He stomps on the brake to make sure he's just sliding in a straight line, not going to the fence. He keeps it out of the fence pretty good, and he's back on his way. He dropped to 4th position, lost about, let's say 3 seconds on Samborski there, so Samborski's getting 3rd place pretty much for free. That's good stuff. For Samborski it is anyway, not for Paul Ilbrink. There we have the number 3 car, the 3rd position car, number 4 of Edward Samborski. And he is now 11 seconds behind Tim Delisle. And it looks like Tim Delisle's closing in on the leader. And, you know, I'm not sure if there's any agreements between these two guys, but would be fun to see some racing for the lead here. Nice livery, though. Both cars look pretty good. And going back on the straight here, maybe their DRS can bring Tim a little bit closer to Greg. Back to the chicane and the brakes. Tim Delisle's actually put the fastest lap down, a 1:29.494. So he is definitely closing in on his teammate there. He's now 7/10 of a second behind. This is Rafael Murcia. It looked for a minute there that he was getting pretty close to Jiang, but that's not the case. Let's go back up front here to Tim Delisle, and lost a little bit of ground again. It stays pretty much around that 1 second mark, and I guess they're not really working that hard. And it looks like Samborski has had an incident as well. Let's see if we can find out what happened here. Yes, indeed. Coming to the last turn, getting on to lap 15, it's Samborski, and he's getting it wrong under braking in the middle of the turn there, and it looks like Ilbrink has got his position back. Yep, Paul Ilbrink is now in 3rd position, and Samborski's right there with him. There might be something developing here for the final podium spot. That's what it looks like from the back end of that car. Into the final turn. Starting lap 15. 16 minutes in this race already. Coming on to the first turn. Hard on the brakes. Very bumpy section there. You can see the car bounce around a little bit. On the gas, being careful not to spin the tires. Let it drift out wide. And then back to a 4th gear left turn. Another gear down. Onto a short straight towards the hairpin. Of course, Nurburgring is a very famous track. It's got a very, very long history, but that's mostly the old part of the track, what we now call the Nordschleife, which was a very long track. And, you know, the older people among us, race fans, will remember, you know, the terrible crash that Niki Lauda had. They made a movie about it called Rush. It's a very good movie if you're interested, if you haven't seen it already. If you're a racing fan, you can't really miss that one. So, yeah, there's a lot of history around this place. The old castle, the Nurburgring Castle, is overlooking from the mountaintop over the track. It's very pretty area. It's in the Eifel in Germany, just east of the Dutch border, and it's an awesome place to visit. You can take your car around that old long track, and it's called the Touristfahren. So as a tourist, you can take your car around that 13-kilometer track, and you can find some YouTube videos that are pretty funny. People wrecking their rental cars on that track because they think they're Mario Andretti. But let's stay here with Paul Elbrink. He's in third position. It looks like Samborski is losing a little bit of ground. He's now 1.5 seconds behind. And Reinaldo Augusto is coming towards Jason Henrique. And he's making up. So he's almost lost it again there. He's making up some ground. He's working really hard. He's trying. Coming down towards the hairpin. Let's see if we can give you a little view here. That's Jason Henrique up ahead. And down the main straight they go. 0.7 of a second behind him right now. He's running a lap time of 1:31.259, and he is actually a little bit quicker than Jason Henrique, who ran a 2:88. So yeah, he might be closing in on him and trying to make something happen here. And further down the order, there hasn't been any change. Bradford and Kalashnikov still following these two. Greg Olson and Tim Delisle still in front, 15 seconds ahead of Paul Elbrink. Samborski still in fourth. Backmarker there, making it easy for these guys. Oh, and it's Augusto running wide in the hairpin, He's lost quite a bit of time there. 2 seconds down the drain, start all over again. It's so easy to get it wrong in this car. It's very, very difficult. But he's hanging on to 6th position, though. He's got 16 seconds on the 7th position, which is Nicholas Bradford. Ooh, it looks like he's trying a little too hard right now. Tires are probably going down a little bit. It can be a snappy car, that's for sure. You know, if you try too hard and work this thing a little too much, it snaps on you. And it's very, very difficult to catch it. So Jason Henrique's got a little breathing room right now. And the car behind there, the white car, that would be Luke. Not sure who that was. Nope, that's Rafael Murcia in 13th position. So let's go back to Reinaldo Augusto. And yeah, he's about 2.5 seconds behind Henrique right now. So he's basically had to start all over again with that chase. Doing better on the exit there now. Meanwhile, Tim Delisle is the quickest man on the track with a 1:29.417. Less than 2 seconds behind Olsen. Still in the lead. 18 laps, almost 17 laps completed. We're on lap 18 of 25, so we're getting closer to the end. And there might be something brewing here. And Samborski is actually closing in on Elbrink, it looks like. Maybe Elbrink had another moment. 1.2 seconds between the two. And that's Paul Elbrink is in 3rd position. And obviously Samborski, he had his hands on it for a little bit. Then made a mistake and had to give it back to Elbrink. But he wants it. Did Augusta have another moment there? Because he dropped back quite a bit. Let's go see if we can. Yep, there we go. He dropped back quite a bit there. And oh, same thing as we saw Ilbrink do. Exact same spot on the curb, too early on the gas, car going sideways, and then lock up the brakes to make sure you save it. It's the exact same thing. He's still in 6th position, but he's lost 10 seconds on Henrik right now. So basically, that fight is done. He just needs to bring that car home. Samborski's 1.2 seconds behind Ilbrink. That's for 3rd position. Ilbrink is in 3rd, and Samborski wants it. Both these drivers made little mistakes and switched positions because of it. First Ilbrink and then Samborski, so they're back in the original order. Good looking car he's got there, though. On towards the final chicane, bumpy part of the track. He's staying off the curbs pretty nice. Last turn. Back onto the main straightaway, and you're looking at the sign that says that BMWs are great. Greg Olson still in the lead. Tim Delisle 1.7 seconds behind, and they're about 17 seconds in front of these two guys here. And it looks like Kalashnikov is gaining a little bit on Bradford, it looks like. Yeah, about 1.3 seconds. Obviously not close enough to be any threat to the driver in front of him. So let's go back to Samborski here. 1.2 seconds separate him from Paul Ilbrink and a spot on the podium. Ilbrink is hanging on to that. And on the 9th position here, we have James Byrne 2, and he's the final driver on the lead lap in that white car there with the blue wheels. And everybody that comes after him, Brian Kraus, Byrne, Jang, Murcia, Ingram, Malo, and Greenfield, they have been lapped by the leaders. And of course, the leader is still Greg Olson. There you have him. Doing a very solid job here. His last lap was a 1:29.9. His fastest lap was a 1:29.4. So, I mean, he's very consistent as well. It looks like he's got this stuff down to a science. And then Tim Delisle is in 2nd place, 1.9, almost 2 seconds behind. 3rd place is Ilbrink, Paul Ilbrink, 17.083. And he's got Samborski now 1.4 seconds behind him, and it doesn't look like he's getting closer. Back marker coming up. Back markers can be a little bit tricky, obviously. They're fighting their car. They're either fighting their car or fighting somebody else, but they're running their own race. They got their own worries. And of course, when you get within 1.5 seconds, they see the blue flag, and if they're smart, they would act accordingly. You know, give the leaders room. There's just no point, especially this late in the race. There's no point in fighting anybody that's going to put you a lap down. On the main straightaway, it does look like the blue car has got fairly good pace. I'm not sure who that is. It's Dan Jang, the number 7 car, and it looks like Ilbrink's already passed him. Let's see where Samborski is now. Chasing him down. Jang doesn't. It's not like Jang is like a driving chicane. I mean, he's got good pace. He's running He's running 131.8 laps. That's only a second slower than the guys that he's dealing with right now. Oh, Samborski turns it around the hairpin just a little early on the gas there. Tires are starting to wear. Didn't hit anything, luckily, but he can pretty much kiss that third place goodbye if he had any ambitions to get it. So basically up front, it's Greg Olson leading the race, dealing with the back marker there. Back marker, well, you don't have to give him that much room. He's pretty much going off the track to give him room. Of course, he gets in the gray area there. He doesn't have any grip. Second place is Tim Delisle still, teammates, both driving in the same livery. Tim Delisle is about 0.6 behind. And then it's Paul Ilbrink in third position, and he doesn't have to worry about Samborski anymore. He's pretty safe in third position right now. And as said, Samborski kind of gave up that ambition for that third spot when he spun in last turn there a little bit earlier. And it's Jason Henrique that's now only 2 seconds behind Samborski, so Samborski would have to be a little bit careful not to give that fourth spot away. And Augusta still going strong, had a few incidents there. He was trying very, very hard, almost lost it, kept it out of the wall, and he's now trying to bring it home in sixth position. And we've got James Byrne too. Looks like he was closing in on Bradford a little bit. He's hanging with him at about 2 seconds. Not really a danger to him, but you know, 1 second or 2 seconds on this track, if you make a mistake, you lose 5, 6, or maybe even 10 seconds easily. So even though you may not be in a position to pass the car ahead of you, it's just a matter of trying to keep some pressure on, and hopefully somebody makes a slight mistake and you gain a position. But up front, it's pretty much, ooh, Tim Delisle there almost loses it, catches it just in time, and he's still underneath a second behind Olsen there. We are now on lap 24, so the next time by will be the final lap for these guys. Ilbrink in third still, 17 seconds behind. Samborski in fourth, 12 seconds behind Ilbrink. And then Henrique is in fifth, 2 seconds behind Samborski. James Byrne is gaining a little bit on Nicholas Bradford, but you know, we're in the closing stages of the race. Everybody's trying to conserve their tires as much as possible. It's not sure if he can really be a threat in these last 2 laps, but he's gaining on him in a little bit. And the one in ahead of him is Nicholas Bradford. There you have him. And then behind these two, it's Brian Krause, and he's being followed by the other Jamie Byrne. He's at 1.4 seconds, pretty much similar distance. And up front, we see Tim Delisle is under a second behind his teammate. They now are on the last lap, so let's stick with these guys here. They deserve the credit. They did a great job. They were very, very solid. They run very good lap times. Last lap of Greg Olson was a 129.6. as opposed to a 129.3 of that was his best time. And he's only 0.03 of a second slower on his best lap than Tim Delisle. These guys are matched up very, very evenly. Very, very close. And you're looking at Greg Olson. He's going to bring it home in first place. He's almost back there at the final chicane. And there's really nothing that can stop him now unless he runs out of fuel or something like that. Final turn. Checkered flag's going to be waving at Greg Olson there. He wins the race at Nurburgring, followed by Tim Delisle, less than 1 second behind. Actually, 1 second behind. And then we are waiting for Paul Ilbrink going through the chicane here. He is going to take away the final podium spot. Third position. Had a few incidents, but the one chasing him had similar incidents, so he got his third place back. He looks like he's happy with that. And then it's Sam Borski coming down to the final turn, taking fourth position here. And Jason Henrique is right there behind him, fifth position. And for sixth position, we have Reinaldo Augusto. We've seen him had a few incidents, but he kept on going. Overdid it on two occasions there. And in seventh position, we have Kalashnikov. And then in eighth position, it's Nicholas Bradford. And then it's James Byrne in ninth position. And Brian Krause is a lap down. He's already finished. The other Jamie Byrne is coming towards the end here. He's in 11th position. And then it's Jang in 12th, Mercia in 13th, Mallow in 14th, 15th is Ingram, and Greenfield is 16, 2 laps down, and then Jonas and Stewart abandoned the race earlier on. Good race at the Nurburgring. Again, it's a difficult car, difficult track, very bumpy at some places where you don't want it to be bumpy, and we saw some people having some trouble with that during this race. This is Blip Shift Broadcasting. My name is Mark. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.